On my 72nd birthday, my husband of 48 years stood up in front of all our friends and family, clinked his glass, and announced to the world that he'd been hiding a second family for nearly 3 decades. Right there, in our backyard under the Seattle sunset, he paraded this other woman and their two grown kids like some twisted family reunion. And me? I just smiled, handed him a little wrapped box, and said, "Happy birthday to me, Harlan. This one's for you." His face went white as a ghost when he opened it. But oh, we'll get to that. Can you even imagine the shock rippling through that crowd? The whispers, the gasps? What would you do if your whole life crumbled in one toast? Stick around, because this story's just beginning, and trust me, the twists will leave you reeling. Let me take you back to that morning before the chaos unfolded. I woke up just as the first light crept over the Puget Sound, that fresh fog rolling in like a soft blanket over our cozy home on the outskirts of Seattle, Washington. No alarm needed. I've always been an early riser, even at 72. I padded to the kitchen in my slippers, brewed my ritual black coffee. Strong, no sugar. The kind that hits you like a wake-up call from the Pacific Northwest itself. The aroma mixed with the salty mist outside, and for a moment, everything felt peaceful. I sat at the old oak table Harlan and I had picked out years ago, staring out at the garden I'd built from scratch. Every bush, every winding path of river rocks, every blooming rhododendron. It was my sanctuary. But as I sipped that coffee, memories flooded in, uninvited guests crashing my quiet time. You see, back in my 20s, I was on fire as an aspiring landscape designer. I'd landed the project of a lifetime, redesigning a big public park right in downtown Seattle. Fully funded, sketches approved, the whole 9 yards. I could already see it. The winding trails, the native ferns framing picnic spots, the water features echoing the sound of the ferries on the bay. It was going to be my mark on the city. Something lasting. But then Harlan came along with his grand idea. He was always the dreamer, full of charisma and big talk. Eco-friendly gadgets, he said. Solar-powered chargers, biodegradable tech accessories. We'll strike it rich, honey. We didn't have the startup cash, so I made the choice. I liquidated my inheritance, every penny my folks had left me for my dreams, and poured it into his venture. What a fool I was. It tanked spectacularly within months. Bad suppliers, market flops, you name it. We were left with debt up to our ears, and my park? Gone. Poof. Just like that. Instead, I turned all that pent-up creativity into this home. Our little retreat on the edge of the city became my canvas. I designed the gardens with eco-features, rain barrels collecting that endless Seattle drizzle, native plants that attracted hummingbirds and butterflies. I built raised beds for herbs and veggies, even installed a small greenhouse for winter tomatoes. It was my hidden masterpiece, you know, the kind no one else really saw the value in, but it kept me going. Harlan would pat me on the back sometimes, say, "Looks nice, dear," but he never got it. To him, it was just backdrop. Can you picture it? Giving up your passion for someone else's pipe dream, only to build something beautiful in the shadows? It hurts, doesn't it? But back then, I told myself it was love, sacrifice, the American way, right? Family first. Anyway, that morning, as I'm lost in thought, Harlan bursts into the kitchen like a bull in a china shop. "Evelyn, where's my gray button-up? The one with the good collar?" No happy birthday, no kiss on the cheek. Just straight to his needs, as if it were any ordinary Tuesday. I didn't even turn around fully. "In the closet, Harlan. I ironed it last night." He grumbled something about being late for a meeting, rummaged around, and didn't once notice the fresh lavender I'd clipped from the garden and set on the table, or the new curtains I'd sewn. Light blue, to match the sound on a clear day. Those little touches? They used to mean something. Now, they were invisible. He'd stopped seeing them decades ago. He always called me his anchor, especially after knocking back a few whiskeys at night. "You're my steady rock, Evie." He'd slur, leaning on me like I was the only thing keeping him afloat. And boy, was he right. More than he knew. For 48 years, I'd been holding it all together. The bills, the kids, the house. But that anchor? It was starting to feel like a chain, dragging me down. Have you ever felt that way in a marriage? Like you're the glue, but no one notices until it cracks? The phone rang, jolting me back. It was Lila, my older daughter. "Mom, happy birthday. Listen, we're stuck in this god-awful I-5 traffic coming from the city. Can you start setting out the appetizers? We don't want guests showing up to an empty table." Her voice was clipped, annoyed, like my birthday was just another item on her to-do list. No, "How are you feeling today?" or "Can't wait to celebrate you." Just orders. I felt like the event coordinator, not the birthday girl. "Sure, honey, I've got it covered," I said, keeping my tone even. But inside, that familiar void opened up. Not hot anger, but a cool, echoing emptiness, like a room cleared out after a storm. Resentment had lived there once, but now, it was just gone. Poof. What do you think that says about a person? When the hurt fades to nothing? By late afternoon, the house was alive with guests. Old neighbors from down the road, family driving in from Tacoma, Harlan's colleagues from his consulting firm. They all trickled in with hugs and cards. I smiled through it all, serving up my homemade salmon dip, fresh caught from the market, mixed with cream cheese and dill from the garden. "Evelyn, this place looks amazing as always," someone said. "Your garden's a real gem." I nodded, poured iced tea, played the gracious hostess in our Pacific Northwest haven. The air smelled of barbecue and pine, the sun dipping low over the trees. It should have been perfect. Harlan, though, he was in his element, strutting from group to group, backslapping the guys, charming the ladies. "Check out this latest deal I'm closing," he'd boast. "Gonna set us up for retirement in style." He'd wave at the house, the yard. Our little slice of paradise. Our? Ha! Unbeknownst to him, every inch, the house, our sleek apartment in Belltown overlooking the market, all our savings, was solely in my name. My prudent mother had insisted on it way back when. "Protect yourself, Evie," she'd said. "Life's full of surprises." Boy, was she right. A quiet fortress, that's what it was. My safety net, hidden in plain sight. Then Mira arrived, my younger daughter. She wrapped me in a real hug, not the perfunctory kind, but tight, like she meant it. "Mom, you okay?" she whispered, her eyes searching mine. Mira's always had that intuition, sharper than a tack. She could sense the undercurrents, the things unsaid. "I'm fine, sweetheart," I murmured back, squeezing her hand. But her worry lingered, a shadow in her gaze. She's always seen through Harlan's bluster, given him those cool, disapproving looks he never noticed in his self-absorption. The sun was setting, casting that golden glow over everything when Harlan clinked his glass for attention. The chatter died down. Everyone turned, expecting a sweet toast. "Friends, family," he started, his voice booming like he was on stage. "Today, we celebrate my wonderful wife, Evelyn, my anchor through thick and thin." He looked at me, but his eyes, they were smug, not loving. Then, the bomb dropped. "But I need to be honest with you all. For 28 years, I've lived two lives. And today, I'm making it right." Gasps. Whispers. He signaled to the side gate, and there she was. Selena, stepping into the light. His former assistant from my old design firm. Sleek, poised, in her 50s now, with that sharp gaze I remembered. Behind her, two young adults, a son, Theo, and daughter Mia, looking awkward and defiant. Harlan strode over, slung an arm around Selena, and led them right up to me. "Evelyn's been such a rock," he said, loud enough for everyone. "So solid, I built not one, but two families on her foundation. Welcome my true partner, Selena, and our kids. It's time to share the successes with everyone." He positioned her right next to me, close enough I could smell her citrus perfume, like we were posing for a family photo from hell. Lila's mouth dropped open in a gasp. Mira's grip on my arm turned vice-like, her nails digging in. The yard fell silent, dead silent. You could hear the distant hum of a ferry on the sound. Neighbors froze mid-sip. Relatives exchanged horrified glances. My son-in-law backed up like he might get caught in the crossfire. In that moment, did my world shatter? Did I feel the ground give way? No. Something else clicked. A serene resolve, like the final piece of a puzzle I'd been assembling in secret for a year. Calm washed over me, cold and clear. No tears, no screams, just certainty. Can you believe it? Standing there, sandwiched between my husband and his mistress with his secret kid staring daggers, what would run through your mind? Rage? Heartbreak? For me, it was freedom knocking. I turned slowly, scanning the stunned faces, pausing on each one, letting them see I was still here, still whole. Then, with that same polite smile I'd perfected over decades, I walked to the side table. There sat the box, small, wrapped in simple silver paper with a navy ribbon. I'd chosen it carefully, months ago, when I first uncovered his lies. It was light in my hands, almost weightless. I returned, held it out to Harlan. "I knew this was for you," I said, my voice steady, quiet. He hesitated. His script derailed. This wasn't part of his big reveal. He let go of Selena's shoulder, took the box. His fingers brushed mine, warm, clammy. Confusion flickered in his eyes, then a smirk, like he thought it was some desperate peace offering. A watch, maybe? Cufflinks. He tugged the ribbon, tore the paper. Inside, a plain white box. He lifted the lid, peered in. His hands started to tremble. The color drained from his face. What was inside? Oh, darling, that's where it gets juicy. But you'll have to wait for the next chapter to find out how it all unraveled. Can you guess what I had planned? Would you have the guts to pull it off? If this story's hitting close to home, or if you've ever felt that quiet rage building, drop a like, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2, and ring the bell for notifications. Share this if you've been through a betrayal that changed everything. And in the comments, tell me, what do you think was in that box? Or, what would you do in my shoes? I read every one. Let's chat. See you in the next chapter, where the real fireworks begin. Sweet dreams. Or maybe not. Welcome back, my friends. If you thought the shock of my husband's big reveal at my 72nd birthday party was bad, wait until you hear what happened next. There I was, standing in our Seattle backyard, the Puget Sound breeze turning chilly as the sun dipped low, handing Harlan that elegantly wrapped box. His hands shook as he peeled back the paper, and when he saw what was inside, oh, the look on his face. It was like watching a king realize his throne was made of sand. But that was just the start of the unraveling. Can you imagine the ice-cold satisfaction of turning the tables after decades of being the anchor? What if everything you thought was secure vanished in a heartbeat? Stick with me. This chapter's packed with the kind of twists that make your heart pound and your blood boil. Let's dive in. As Harlan lifted the lid on that plain white box, the yard seemed to hold its breath. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft tissue paper, was a single shiny key, the spare to our Belltown apartment, and a crisp stack of legal documents. Not just any papers. These were the divorce filings I'd prepared in secret over the past year, complete with notices of asset freeze and affirmations of sole ownership. Every detail was there in black and white. Our cozy home on the outskirts of Seattle, the sleek condo in Belltown with its killer views of the market lights at night, the savings accounts, the investments, all registered in my name alone, thanks to my mother's foresight. What? What is this? Harlan stammered, his voice cracking like thin ice underfoot. His face paled, draining of that smug confidence he'd worn just moments ago. His hand started trembling so badly the papers rustled like leaves in a storm. Selena fidgeted beside him, craning her neck to peek inside. Harlan? What's going on? What does it say? She sounded annoyed at first, like this was some minor hiccup in their grand plan. But Harlan didn't answer her. He just stared at me, his eyes wide with disbelief, as if I'd grown a second head. Confusion twisted into dawning horror, the kind that hits you deep in the gut when you realize you've been outplayed. Evelyn, this can't be real, he whispered, but his voice was shaking now too. The guests shifted uncomfortably, whispers turning to murmurs. Lila stood frozen, her hand over her mouth, while Mira's grip on my arm tightened, a silent show of support. Can you feel that tension? That moment when the air thickens and you know nothing will ever be the same? I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The papers spoke for themselves. With that same composed smile I'd mustered, the one I'd practiced in the mirror for months, I turned gracefully toward the house, Mira right beside me. The guests parted like the Red Sea, stepping aside in awkward silence, avoiding our eyes. Some mumbled apologies, others just stared at the ground. We walked steadily, heads high, no rush, no drama, just dignity. Once inside, I paused at the French doors overlooking the yard and raised my voice just enough to carry. Dear friends and family, thank you so much for coming to celebrate with me today. Unfortunately, the party's come to an end a bit earlier than planned. Please, feel free to finish your drinks and enjoy the last of the salmon dip on your way out. Safe travels home. Chaos ensued, but quietly. The Seattle way, polite even in pandemonium. Car doors slammed softly, engines purred to life, headlights flickered on as the twilight deepened. No one lingered for goodbyes, they scattered like leaves in the wind. Out in the yard, Harlan finally snapped out of his stupor. He grabbed Selena's arm roughly, his face twisted in fury, and hauled her and the kids toward the gate. Theo and Mia trailed behind, looking confused and sullen, like unwilling extras in a bad drama. Harlan shot one last glare at the house, pure, seething rage, as they piled into his car and sped off, tires crunching on the gravel driveway. The sound echoed in the empty night, a final punctuation to his grand humiliation. Mira and I didn't speak at first. We just got to work tidying the yard methodically, like we'd done after countless family gatherings. Picking up abandoned plates smeared with dip, stacking folding chairs, folding the tablecloths I'd starched just yesterday. The routine brought a soothing normalcy, you know? Each small task, wiping down a table, tossing plastic cups into the recycle bin, felt like reclaiming my space. The garden lights twinkled on automatically, casting a soft glow over the rhododendrons I'd planted years ago. Mom, Mira said finally, breaking the silence as we bundled up the trash. That was incredible. Are you really okay? I paused, looking at her, my rock in all this. Better than okay, sweetheart. For the first time in years. We shared a quiet laugh, the kind that bubbles up after a storm passes. We finished up and retreated to the deck, wrapping ourselves in fleece blankets against the cooling air. The Puget Sound fog was rolling in thicker now, muffling the world. I brewed us some herbal tea, chamomile with a hint of lavender from the garden, and we sat there, sipping in companionable silence. That's when my phone buzzed harshly on the table. Harlan's name flashed on the screen. Mira glanced at me, eyebrows raised. I nodded, and she hit speaker. His voicemail exploded out, raw with rage. Evelyn, what the hell have you done? You think this is funny? Humiliating me in front of everyone like that? My cards are blocked. My own damn cards. Turn it all back on, right now, or I swear you'll regret it. You'll be sorry you ever pulled this stunt. Call me back before morning, or else. In the background, Selena's voice murmured something soothing, but he cut her off with a snarl. I let the message play out, then sipped my tea calmly. The steam rose like a veil, and inside, I felt unbreakable. A whole year of preparations, secret meetings with lawyers, gathering evidence, steeling myself, had led to this. He still doesn't get it, I said to Mira, my voice steady. Thinks it's a tantrum, but it's not. It's the end. She nodded, her eyes fierce with pride. Damn right, Mom. We sat there a while longer, watching the stars peek through the fog. Have you ever felt that shift? When betrayal turns to resolve, and you realize you're stronger than you ever knew? It's intoxicating, isn't it? The next morning dawned crisp and clear, a rare, sunny Seattle day. Mira drove me into the city, her hands steady on the wheel as we navigated the traffic toward Pike Place Market. The attorney, Theodore Grant, had his office in a historic brick building nearby, the kind with creaky wooden floors and the faint scent of fresh fish wafting from the market stalls outside. Theodore was an old family friend, solid as they come, with a no-nonsense gaze behind wire-rimmed glasses. He greeted us at the door, led us to his cluttered desk piled with files, and poured coffee without asking. Evelyn, he said, settling into his chair. Everything's in motion as we planned. Assets frozen, notices sent. But there's more. Something I uncovered in a deeper check. My heart skipped, but I kept my composure. What is it, Theodore? He slid a thin folder across the desk. No label, just stark white. Harlan filed this 2 months ago with the county's behavioral health unit. It's a petition for compulsory psychiatric evaluation to declare you mentally unfit. Mira gasped beside me, but I just stared at the document, flipping it open. There, in cold type, was Harlan's signature at the bottom. The pages twisted everyday slips into damning evidence, frequently forgets personal items such as phone or keys, indicating short-term memory loss. I'd misplaced my phone once last week, found it in the fridge after a distracted moment. Confuses basic ingredients in cooking, like herbs or spices, posing potential health risks. That time, I'd swapped rosemary for thyme by accident. He'd laughed it off then, but now it was proof of dementia. Spends excessive time alone in the garden, appearing detached from reality, conversing with plants. My sanctuary, my peace, turned into a symptom. I absorbed it all, the betrayal sinking deeper than the affair ever had. This wasn't just cheating, it was a calculated plot to institutionalize me, strip me of my rights, and seize everything under guardianship. Harlan didn't want to leave, he wanted to erase me, lock me away while he and Selena waltzed off with my life's work. The room spun for a second, that first high emotional peak hitting like a wave, pure, icy fury mixed with heartbreak. How could the man I'd built a life with stoop so low? Mira's hand found mine, squeezing tight. That bastard, she whispered. Theodore nodded grimly. It's premeditated, Evelyn. But we've got the upper hand now. He activated the full protocols right there, restraining orders barring Harlan from contact except through lawyers. Immediate property repossessions, total account lockdowns. This ends today, he said. As we drove back, I pictured Harlan's world crumbling. Later, Theodore filled me in on the details. He'd received the divorce papers over brunch at some upscale hotel downtown, probably still smug from his reveal. A courier in a crisp suit slid the envelope across the table mid-mimosa. Harlan's arrogance shattered into panic. He tore it open, face flushing red, then ashen. "This is bullshit," he'd yelled according to the report, crumpling the pages. Selena tried to calm him, but the damage was done. They stormed to the Belltown apartment next, Harlan jamming his key into the door, only to find new locks gleaming back. No entry. He pounded, shouted, but silence answered. And the final blow? As they fumed on the curb, a tow truck rolled up, hooking his luxury sedan, the one I'd gifted him for his 70th. All leather seats and bells and whistles. Workers in vests handed him the repossession notice. Property of Evelyn Holloway, lawful owner. Selena's composure cracked then, her polished facade splintering as their assumed security vanished. "What do you mean it's hers?" she snapped at Harlan, the illusion exposed raw. They argued blame right there on the sidewalk, her accusing him of screwing up the plan, him barking back that she pushed too hard. Their bond frayed under the weight of reality, threads snapping one by one. Can you see it? That second emotional crescendo, the sweet justice of watching cheaters turn on each other? It was poetry, really. Their true love crumbling like wet sand. But oh, the fallout wasn't over. Harlan's rage boiled over in desperate calls, and Selena's fear turned sharp. What came next tested my resolve like never before, a confrontation that brought everything to a boiling point. Would I crack under the pressure, or stand taller? You'll have to tune in for Chapter 3 to find out, because the biggest twist is yet to come. If this chapter left you on the edge of your seat, or if you've ever dreamed of that perfect comeback, smash that like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next part, and hit the bell for updates. Share this story if betrayals touched your life. It might help someone else feel less alone. And drop a comment. What do you think Harlan and Selena did next? Or, have you ever uncovered a secret that changed everything? I love hearing from you. Let's keep the conversation going. See you soon for more heartache and triumphs. Take care out there. Welcome back, dear listeners. If Chapter 2 left you breathless with Harlan's world crumbling, his cards blocked, locks changed, that fancy sedan towed away right under his nose, then brace yourself for the finale. This is where the desperation boils over. Secrets explode in front of family, and I finally step into the light of my own life. Picture this. Just when I thought the storm had passed, Harlan and Selena ambushed me at the farmer's market, looking like ghosts of their former selves. But that confrontation? It was nothing compared to the family mediation that followed, the third and final emotional hammer that shattered everything for good. Can you feel the weight of decades lifting? What if reclaiming your power meant watching your old world burn? This is the end of my story, but oh, the freedom it brings. Let's wrap this up together. That night, after meeting with Theodore, sleep came easily for the first time in years. I slipped under the covers in my bed, the house quiet except for the distant lap of waves on the sound. No tossing and turning, no replaying Harlan's furious voicemail in my head. Just a deep, fortified peace, like the calm after a Pacific storm. Impending freedom wrapped around me like those fleece blankets on the deck. I dreamed of open seas, no anchors dragging me down. Have you ever slept that soundly after a betrayal? It's like your soul finally exhales. But peace didn't last long. The phone rang late that evening, Mira's line. It was Lila on the other end, her voice thick with tears, hysterical sobs punctuating every word. "Mom, please," she pleaded when Mira handed me the phone. "Dad's a wreck. He's got nothing. Sleeping on a friend's couch, begging for loans. You have to stop this. Talk to him. Fix it. He's our father." Her words tumbled out, laced with that mix of guilt and denial I'd seen in her eyes at the party. I listened patiently, letting her vent, but inside, that resolve hardened like Seattle rain turning to ice. "Lila, honey," I said calmly, Your father's simply learning self-reliance. After decades of leaning on me, it's about time. She gasped, started protesting, but I hung up gently. No more explanations. No more being the fixer. That was the first emotional peak of the aftermath. A quiet standoff with my own daughter, forcing me to choose myself over family illusions. Does it break your heart or empower you to draw that line? Days blurred into a tentative normalcy. I threw myself into small joys, tending the garden one last time, baking sourdough with herbs from the beds. Then, one crisp morning, I decided to venture out alone to the local farmer's market near the ferry terminal. Mira offered to tag along, but I waved her off. "This is my city, my life," I told her. "No more hiding." The air smelled of fresh apples and roasted nuts, vendors calling out deals on organic kale and handmade soaps. I wandered the stalls basket in hand, picking up crisp Honeycrisp apples, a wedge of local cheddar, a loaf of artisan bread. Simple pleasures, grounding me in the now. That's when they ambushed me, Harlan and Selena, stepping out from behind a produce stand like shadows in a bad thriller. They looked disheveled, desperate. Harlan in that same gray button-up from my birthday, now wrinkled and stained. Selena's hair unkempt, her makeup smudged, that sharp poise gone. No luxury car in sight. They'd probably borrowed some beat-up sedan parked nearby. Harlan lunged forward first, blocking my path, his face a storm of fury and pleading. "Evelyn, we need to talk. Now." His voice cracked, alternating between rage and nostalgia. "How could you do this? After 48 years? You've left me with nothing. Nothing. Think of the kids, our girls. This is destroying them." He waved his arms, drawing stares from passers-by munching on kettle corn. Selena jumped in, her eyes flashing with accusation. "And what about my children? Theo just started his job. Mia's planning her future." "You're ripping that away, Evelyn. Do you have no heart? Whatever you think of us, they're innocent. They deserve their father's support." She tried to sound noble, but it came out shrill, laced with panic. I stood there, basket heavy in my arms, feeling not fear but a curious detachment, like observing actors in a play I'd outgrown. Harlan switched tactics, his shoulders slumping, voice softening to that manipulative charm. "Remember the early days, Evie? Building this life together, raising Lila and Mira? Picnics by the Sound? Holidays in the mountains? Doesn't that mean anything? I messed up. Big time. But we can fix this. For the family's sake." Their words washed over me, but I felt nothing. No pity, no pull. Just clarity. I looked them straight in the eyes, deep enough to see the guilt squirming beneath. And then, quietly, so only they could hear. "Whose plan was it to label me insane? To lock me away and steal everything?" Boom. That second emotional climax hit like a thunderclap. The blood drained from Harlan's face. He staggered back, as if slapped. Selena's eyes widened in horror, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. Guilt etched their features, raw and undeniable. They glanced at each other, not in unity, but suspicion. Blame flickering like a faulty bulb. I didn't wait for stammered excuses. I simply stepped around them, like dodging puddles after a rain, and continued down the aisle. The market bustle swallowed me. Laughter from kids at a petting zoo, the sizzle of food trucks. Behind me, their silence rang louder than any shout. That encounter sealed it. My emotional detachment was complete. Walking away, apples in hand, I felt lighter than air. Can you imagine that power? Turning your back on the past. Literally? It wasn't over, though. Soon after, Lila called again, her voice steadier but insistent. "Mom, we need a family mediation. At my place. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone's worried. Uncle Ray, Aunt Clara, even Cousin Ben from Tacoma. Let's talk this out calmly, like adults. Please. For me. I knew it was a trap. Their last-ditch effort to rally sympathy, paint me as the villain. But I agreed. All right, Lila, Mira and I will be there. Not for negotiation, mind you. For the execution. We arrived at Lila's cozy apartment in Capitol Hill right on time, the air thick with tension. The living room was packed. Aunts perched on sofas, uncles in armchairs, cousins leaning against walls. They greeted us awkwardly, eyes darting. Harlan and Selena sat center stage on the couch, playing the victims. Him hunched like a defeated man, her dabbing at red-rimmed eyes. They'd worked the room already, spinning tales of my decline. Harlan started, voice trembling theatrically. Family, thank you for coming. This tragedy with Evelyn. She's not herself. Forgetful. Paranoid. What happened at the party, these locks and freezes? It's not her. It's illness. Selena nodded, chiming in with a quaver. We tried to help, but Mira's manipulating her, turning her against us all, grabbing the assets. We're scared for Evelyn, before it's too late. The room hung heavy, relatives shifting, some nodding sympathetically. Aunt Clara looked at me with pity. Uncle Ray frowned in confusion. Lila avoided my gaze, twisting her hands. They waited for my defense. Tears. Denials. Instead, Mira leaned forward silently, pulling the thin folder from her bag and placing it on the coffee table with a soft thud. Here, she said, voice ice calm. The petition Dad filed 2 months ago to declare Mom incompetent. Gasps rippled. Uncle Ray snatched it up, scanning the twisted symptoms. Mira didn't stop. She produced a small digital recorder, hit play. The tapes exposed it all, their scheming conversations, covertly recorded during Harlan's visits. His voice crackled out. Selena, emphasize the forgetting. Phone, keys. It's classic dementia. And the garden time? Say she's detached, talking to plants. A pause, then her. Are you sure it'll work? Him, cynical. A few more months, and it's all ours. The old assets expired. Time to cash in. That third emotional peak crashed down. The room erupted in horrified silence, then outrage. Relatives recoiled. Harlan's sister, Aunt Clara, stood slowly, face ashen. You're no brother of mine, she spat, grabbing her coat. Uncle Ray tossed the papers down in disgust, storming out with his wife. Cousins mumbled excuses, fleeing the suffocating air. Lila buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Harlan stammered, "It's a forgery," misunderstood. But the facade crumbled, their lies exposed like rot under peeled paint. Selena clutched the couch, horror struck. Mira and I rose, gathering our things. We exited amid the ruins, the door clicking shut behind us. Outside, the evening air felt lighter, fresher, like breathing after being underwater. Contact ceased after that. Their isolation was complete. No more calls, no pleas. They'd vanished into their own wreckage. Months on, here I am in my new high-rise condo overlooking Elliott Bay, watching sunsets paint the water gold and pink, ferries gliding like ghosts. I sold the old house quickly to a creative young couple who adored its eco-design, the rain barrels, the native gardens. It's got soul, they said. Letting it go freed me from its weight, like shedding an old skin. Now, my days are mine. I take watercolor classes at a studio downtown, finding joy in the fluid strokes, the way colors bleed into unexpected beauty. No pressure for perfection, just creation. Recently, I attended a jazz concert at Benaroya Hall, sinking into the velvet seat as saxophones wailed soulfully. No bitterness for the paths not taken, the park I never built. Just contentment in the present, gratitude for the music filling me now. Mira visits often, bringing takeout from Pike Place or a new plant for my balcony garden. We laugh about silly things, bad movies, market finds, not the past. Rumors trickle in occasionally. Harlan in a rundown rental out east, Selena gone with the kids, him scraping by on odd jobs. I listen without gloating, detached as reading a distant news story. Revenge? Too exhausting? I just want to live. At 72, I've rebuilt myself. Not as an anchor, weighed down, but as a sail, catching the winds of a life truly mine. Mornings, I brew coffee, step onto the balcony, and watch Seattle wake. The hum of traffic, the gleam of the Space Needle. No obligations, no chains, just me, finally free. And you know what? It's glorious. Thank you for joining me on this journey, from betrayal to triumph. If this story moved you, or if you've risen from your own ashes, hit that like button, subscribe for more heartfelt tales, and ring the bell so you never miss one. Share if it reminds you of your own strength. Maybe it'll inspire someone else. And in the comments, what part hit you hardest? Or how have you reclaimed your life? I read them all. Let's connect. Until next time, live boldly. You've got this.